You've seen the cool-looking armored hoodies and the casual riding jeans that promise to keep you safe while you look good. But here's the reality the industry hides. That gear is often lying to you. I've seen a protective riding hoodie shredded into confetti after a 30-mile-per-hour low side. The rider wasn't just bruised, they had road rash in places the gear was supposed to cover. The problem isn't just that the gear failed. The problem is that it gave the rider the confidence to push limits they shouldn't have touched. Wearing bad gear is actually worse than wearing no gear. When you ride in a t-shirt, you know you're naked. You ride scared. You ride careful. But when you zip up a jacket that claims to be abrasion resistant, you feel invincible. Today we're breaking down the physics of why your gear fails, from the materials that melt into your skin to the stitching that bursts on impact, so you can stop wasting money on false security. The material lie, why abrasion resistant is meaningless. It starts with the fabric you're trusting with your skin. The biggest deception in the motorcycle world right now is the Kevlar or Aramid label. You walk into a shop, see a pair of riding jeans with a big yellow tag that says Aramid reinforced, and you buy them. But here's what they don't tell you. Legally, they can slap that label on the jeans even if the protective lining only covers 20% of the garment. Most casual riding gear only puts that expensive, abrasion-resistant yellow fabric in the high-impact zones, usually just a small patch on the butt and the knees. The rest of the pant is just standard denim. If you slide on your hip or your thigh or your shin, areas that hit the pavement constantly in a tumble, that denim disintegrates in under half a second. You are effectively sliding on bare skin instantly. But there is something worse than denim disappearing. It's the summer mesh trap. A lot of cheap jackets use standard polyester or nylon blends to flow air. The issue isn't airflow, it's friction physics. When you slide across asphalt at 50 miles per hour, the friction generates massive heat. High-quality materials like Cordura have a high melting point. Cheap polyester does not. It doesn't just tear, it melts. It turns into liquid plastic that fuses with your skin. Ask any trauma nurse, and they will tell you that treating a friction burn is painful, but treating a plastic burn, where they have to scrub melted nylon out of your dermis, is a nightmare. So how do you spot the lie? You have to ignore the outer shell. Do the inside-out test. Turn the garment completely inside out. If you see a full lining of yellow aramid fiber covering everything from the waist to the ankle, or a full mesh liner that feels heavy and dense, you might be safe. But if you turn those jeans inside out and see mostly blue denim with just a couple of yellow patches sewn onto the butt, put them back on the rack. That's not safety gear. That's a fashion statement that will leave you bleeding. The structural lie, the zipper effect of cheap seams. Even if you find a jacket made of the strongest leather or the thickest Cordura, it is completely useless if it falls apart the moment you hit the ground. This is where the structural lie comes in. You need to understand that a crash involves two distinct forces, abrasion and impact pressure. Everyone worries about the slide, but they forget the impact. When you hit the asphalt, your body acts like a water balloon hitting the sidewalk. The internal pressure spikes instantly. That pressure creates a massive bursting force against the seams of your clothes. If your gear is held together with standard stitching, it acts like a zipper. The impact pressure drives a wedge into the seam, popping the first stitch. Once the first stitch goes, the tension transfers to the next one, and the entire seam blows open before you have even started sliding. Manufacturers save money here by using overlock stitching, the same stitch used on your t-shirts. It's fast, cheap, and weak. Real protective gear uses safety seams. This is a construction method where the structural stitch is hidden inside a fold of the fabric. So if you slide, you are grinding down the leather or textile, but you are never grinding the thread itself. The seam stays intact because the road can't touch it. There is also the thread scam. I've seen jackets made of premium cowhide held together by cheap, thin cotton thread. Cotton has zero tensile strength compared to nylon or bonded polyester. Under the tension of a crash, cotton snaps immediately. You can test this right now in the store. It's called the pull test. Find a main seam on the arm or leg of the gear. Grab the fabric on both sides of the seam and pull them apart as hard as you can. Really try to rip it. If the seam spreads open and you can see the individual threads stretching like a ladder, that gear will fail. The threads are exposed and the tension is too high. A proper safety seam won't budge. It will feel like a solid piece of material. If you can see the thread, the asphalt can cut the thread. The rating lie, CE tested versus CE certified. Once you've verified the build quality, you usually look at the label for reassurance. But the label is often the most sophisticated lie of all. You will see tags that say CE tested. That sounds great, right? It's meaningless. CE tested just means the manufacturer sent the gear to a lab, the lab ran a test, and gave them the results. It doesn't mean the gear passed anything. It could have failed miserably, but because it was tested, they can legally put that tag on the jacket. What you need to look for is CE certified. This means it actually met a specific standard. But even here, you have to decipher the code. Under the current European standards, which are the global benchmark, gear is rated A, AA, or AAA. This is where riders get hurt. They buy an A-rated jacket thinking it's safe for the highway. It isn't. An A rating is designed for urban riding at low speeds. Think 30 miles per hour maximum. It prioritizes comfort over protection. If you come off a bike at 70 miles per hour on the freeway wearing A-rated gear, you are effectively wearing a heavy t-shirt. AA is the touring standard, good for general riding and highway speeds, offering a balance of slide time and comfort. AAA is the professional standard, full leathers, heavy textiles, designed for high-speed slides on a track. If you are a highway commuter wearing A-rated gear, you are severely underprotected. And then there is the back protector scam. You buy a $300 jacket and you feel a foam pad in the back pocket. You assume it's armor. It is not armor. It is a piece of comfort foam meant to keep the jacket's shape on the hanger. It offers zero impact protection. If you land on your spine, that foam will compress instantly and transfer all the energy to your vertebrae. Unless that pad has a specific EN 162-1-2 stamp on it, it is garbage. Throw it away immediately and buy a proper Level 2 back protector. Level 1 lets too much force through. Level 2 absorbs significantly more energy. Don't trust the foam that comes with the jacket. It's just a placeholder waiting for you to upgrade it. The footwear lie, the moto sneaker trap. Now let's talk about the piece of gear that riders get wrong most often simply because they prioritize walking comfort over riding safety. This is the moto sneaker trap. You see them everywhere, casual high tops that look like basketball shoes, but claim to be motorcycle gear because they have a slightly reinforced toe box and a patch of leather on the ankle. The lie here is the high top myth. Riders assume that because a shoe covers the ankle, it supports the ankle. That is a dangerous misconception. In a crash, specifically a low side, the most common dynamic is that the bike falls over and slides. Often your leg is trapped underneath it. You have 400 to 500 pounds of steel crushing your ankle against the asphalt while moving at speed. A soft leather high top offers zero structural resistance to that crushing force. It collapses instantly. The abrasion resistance of the leather doesn't matter if the bones underneath have been pulverized because the shoe lacks structural rigidity. The most critical feature missing from these casual moto shoes is lateral stiffness. You need a boot that prevents your foot from folding sideways or twisting backward. If you are wearing riding shoes right now, take them off and do the torsion test. Grab the heel in one hand and the toe box in the other. Now, wring the shoe out like a wet towel. Twist it as hard as you can. If the shoe twists, spirals, or folds significantly, it is garbage. If you can twist it with your hands, the road will snap your ankle like a twig with the weight of the bike behind it. You also need to look at the sole construction. Many riding sneakers use standard glued soles, just like a pair of Vans. The problem is that asphalt generates massive heat during a slide. That heat softens the glue, and the sheer force of the road peels the sole right off the bottom of the boot. I have seen crash aftermaths where the rider is wearing the upper part of a sneaker, but the sole is 50 yards back down the road, and their foot has been ground down to the bone. You need crush-proof, transverse stiff soles with stitched or chemically bonded construction, not just glued rubber. Do not trust a sneaker to do a boot's job. The glove lie, the wrist snapper. Your hands are the very first thing to touch the ground. It is a biological instinct. When you fall, you put your hands out to break your fall. But if you are wearing the wrong gloves, that instinct will snap your wrist. This brings us to the glove lie, specifically regarding the palm material. Most riders think a full leather palm is the safest option because leather is tough. But in this specific scenario, leather is actually too grippy. When your palm hits the pavement at 50 miles per hour, you want it to slide. If it's just leather, it can grab the asphalt, acting like a brake pad. Your hand stops moving, but your body is still traveling at 50 miles per hour. The result is that your wrist hyperextends and snaps the scaphoid bone. The scaphoid is a tiny bone in your wrist that has poor blood supply. If you break it, it takes months to heal and often requires surgery. The solution, and the thing many fashion gloves omit, is a hard plastic palm slider. This is a puck of TPU, or hard plastic, located right on the heel of the palm. When you crash, that plastic hits the road and skids effortlessly. It prevents the glove from grabbing the pavement, allowing your hands to slide out in front of you while your body follows, preventing that catastrophic wrist snap. If your gloves don't have hard sliders on the palm, they are incomplete. Then there is the seam burst risk on the fingers. Look at the stitching on the fingers of your gloves. Is the stitching on the outside? If so, those threads are the first thing to hit the road. They will wear through in a fraction of a second. The glove fingers will open up and your fingertips will be exposed to the grinder. You want boxed fingers or internal stitching where the threads are hidden. Finally, watch out for the short cuff risk. Short gloves are popular for summer, but they often leave a 1-inch gap of bare skin between the end of the glove and the start of your jacket. In a slide, your sleeves often ride up. That exposed wrist bone is exactly where you will impact. You need a gauntlet that overlaps the jacket, or a jacket that locks down tight, and a glove strap that wraps 360 degrees around the wrist, not just a little Velcro tab on the back of the hand. The helmet lie, the plastic shell trap. Finally, we arrive at the most important piece of gear, and the one with the most sophisticated marketing lies: the helmet. You might think that because helmets are legally required and regulated, they are all equally safe. That is false. The biggest lie is in the shell material itself. Entry-level helmets are usually made of polycarbonate, essentially hard plastic. The problem with a plastic shell is how it manages energy. When a plastic shell hits the pavement, it wants to flex and bounce. It's durable, sure, but that bounce is deadly. It transfers a significant amount of that impact energy straight through the foam and into your skull. You don't want a helmet that bounces. You want a helmet that destroys itself to save you. This is why fiberglass or composite fiber shells are superior. When a composite shell hits the road, it doesn't bounce. It cracks, delaminates, and crushes. It acts like the crumple zone of a car. By breaking apart, the shell itself uses up energy that would otherwise be transferred to your brain. You are paying for a shell that is designed to fail sacrificially, whereas cheap plastic shells are designed to survive the drop test but transmit more shock to the rider. Another hidden danger is the internal sun visor. Everyone loves the convenience of a drop-down sunshade, but to make room for that visor to retract inside the helmet, manufacturers have to carve out a channel in the EPS foam, the styrofoam that actually protects your brain. This means the foam is thinner right across your forehead, which is a primary impact zone. If you prioritize safety over convenience, a helmet without an internal visor will almost always have a thicker, continuous layer of protective foam. And we cannot talk about helmets without talking about rotation. Old safety ratings like DOT only tested for direct linear impacts, like hitting a wall straight on. But in the real world, you hit the ground at an angle and twist. This rotation shears the brain inside the skull, causing severe concussions even if the skull doesn't fracture. If your helmet doesn't have a rotational impact rating, look for ECE 22.06, which is the new gold standard. You are missing protection against the most common type of brain injury. Don't rely on a DOT sticker. It is an outdated standard that allows inferior plastic shells to stay on the market. The takeaway here is simple. Safety is not about the brand name, the style, or the price tag. It is about the physics of materials, the integrity of seams, and the reality of certifications. You cannot buy safety by accident. You have to inspect for it. Go to your closet right now. Check your labels for A, AA, or AAA ratings. Do the torsion test on your boots. Check your gloves for palm sliders. If your gear fails these tests, it's not protective equipment, it's just a costume. If you want to know which specific helmet brands are failing the new safety standards, watch this video next. Subscribe for more honest gear reviews.